We spent 5 days trying to figure out the colonization changes. And it's an error and it's getting rolled back. I think the screenshot does justice to the feeling right now. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's fine. The news is that, let me actually read the text, so I am quoting. Hi folks, we are aware that there were some issues with facilities and system colonization economics during the weekend, which by the way started on Wednesday, but whatever, let's call it weekend. This was an error and not an intentional change and has been reverted. We are committed to looking at improvements and potential changes in the way facilities and the economy works in regards to system colonization, as well as how we can improve documentation. Where possible, we will endeavor to share economic and facility changes in update notes. We thank you for your continued patience and feedback during the system colonization beta. Pull the beta card too. Okay, fine. Few things. What exactly reverted means is going to be interesting because station economies don't naturally update unless there's like a trigger of some kind, like you build them or you build something around them. So it'd be really interesting to see what this reverting entails. As my hunch is we will end up with like a 3-state like situation where some stations follow the original rules, some stations follow the temporary error rules, and some station will follow some kind of reverted version of that. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Nevertheless, look, there's some good that comes out of all of this, and namely, specifically, we got a glimpse into how they're thinking about solving for the economy issue, the economy specialization of station issues. And they are at least partially going in the right direction, is my hunch. Namely, assigning an economy to planets is a good thing and probably should have been done from the get-go. We've also learned in the last 24 hours that there's actual modifiers to planets. And specifically, planets that have volcanism have an additional industry component, and planets which have biologicals have an additional agriculture component. That's where it gets tricky, because much like I did, I think everybody, including our friends in the UK, completely forgot that industries don't just have a supply side, but also have a demand side. And what that entails is that when you mix more than one industry, they end up consuming each other's goods, and the resulting market barely produces anything. There's just maybe a handful of goods that are not consumed on one side or the other. So the mixing of market types in the current system, where demand and supply are netted out directly between economies without any kind of corresponding production increase, simply does not work. So there's two solutions or way to go about this in my mind from a sort of more permanent solution model. There's an elegant way to go about this, and that would be to say, if a market consumes a given resource, like for example, if refineries consume extraction minerals, then the corresponding production of that market should increase. So refineries that consume extraction minerals directly should produce more refined metals. That doesn't happen today. And if you do it that way, you might be able to change things in specialized markets in ways that are interesting without necessarily creating a super economy that produces everything, which is, I think, something nobody wants and completely unbalanced and something to be avoided. That would be the elegant solution, but that's more work. The quicker and easier and sort of quick and dirty solution would instead be to specialize planets. So have, let's say, if you're going to do refineries on rocky planets, have that planet give an intrinsic refinery modifier, but then the relevant modifiers on the planet need to give refinery too. So if you have volcanism on a rocky planet, it needs to make it a more efficient refinery. Because if you add industry like you currently do in the current system, that messes up the whole system and it simply doesn't work. We'll see. I mean, on one hand, I mean, it's interesting to have spent the last 5 days trying to figure out how the system works with no documentation. On the other hand, I appreciate them acknowledging that this was an error, which in hindsight, we probably should have figured it was, considering the completely lacking documentation that was associated with the change. But then again, hindsight is 2020. And on the flip side, I think we can be appreciative and thankful that we got a glimpse into how they're thinking about solutioning and solving for that. So, yep, system reverted. That's the news. But we learned something. I guess that's the interesting part. So glory to mankind. Commander Mechan, over and out.